we're working with the government and working with folks on the ground. We saw lots of different areas that needed help, and we decided we were going to help with shelter, and we figured we could also work with water, because people had water all around them, but water that they couldn't drink. It wasn't safe. So they needed safe access to water. And then they also needed some support. I mean, just in terms of like some blankets and things like that for their homes as well. So water and shelter were the two big parts that we responded to, as well as helping people to clean around their communities. And that meant if you're going to have to build things, or you're going to have to clear things, what was that second slide about? What had fallen down all over the place? Yeah, the trees. And what do you build homes out of?
Trees.
Ah, so there's an opportunity there. So it was really important to get to those trees and cut them into lumber so you can use them for building your house. And you only can do that in the first couple of months, first couple of weeks, because what happens if a tree is down and you don't pick it up? Yeah, it starts to rot. So we had to move on that so people would have something to build from. The other thing I mentioned?
Water.
Water, right. So these are containers that we would give to people so they could take them to clean water supplies and be able to take them to, back to their families for cooking and washing and hygiene, cleaning themselves. And sometimes, again, it's not just giving people pieces, but it's working with them to identify what are you most important to need, how many of you are there, how are we going to get this, make sure that everybody is here, that we don't forget somebody in the corner back there because they're very quiet, or or maybe they're very old, or they're very young. So we also did some education, reminding people how to make sure that they stay safe after the response. So here you can see distributions taking place. And in the very beginning, again, you have to get that water out there. You don't have time to build really proper houses, but you do have plastic sheets. So here you can see we were able to get out in the first 2 months about 40,000 of these plastic sheets to people, so that they could use them to cover what space that they have, keep the rain off, keep the sun off of them, have a place that they can at least start to rebuild. So that was December. I mean, sorry, that was in November, November 8th. By the end of December, beginning of January, just around Christmas or New Year's, we were happy to be able to have reached most folks with at least some supplies in terms of shelter, in terms of water, along with other organizations. So that's a little bit of the response. I'll stop there, and then I can talk about what we've been doing since then. Any question or additional comment? Okay. So let me just go on. I'm going to show you 2 examples of some of the houses that we've been building afterward. And what are some of the things that, in the beginning, you do the emergency response. And the idea is saving lives. Like you said, you hear voices, people need food, people need immediate medical attention. That's the first 2, maybe up to 3 months. And then you start thinking about, well, is stuff still going on? After you don't see anything on the news, after you don't see anything in the newspapers. That's where we're rebuilding. And the idea is, okay, how do we rebuild in a way that's smarter? And how do you rebuild so you're not just rebuilding the house, but you're rebuilding community? And one of the things you can do is looking at the way you rebuild that house. Getting neighbors to work together to clean the house, to fix the house. Also looking at the roads or the escape. When there is a tsunami in the future, or there might be another cyclone, and people need to move away, making sure that you're building in a way that people can easily get out and look for higher ground. So making sure that there's good signs for evacuation routes, and that'll save lives. Even looking at the houses, looking at how you build houses, you can raise them up, for example, on concrete. But then also, there's a lot of what they say cross bracing. So instead of just building houses that go with poles that go up and down, making sure that you put cross bracing that makes it that strengthens that wall. So you can imagine that there's like an X behind this wall here that helps to make it stronger. And even at the top, or everywhere that you have corners like this, you put again more wood to cross brace it, and that makes it a lot stronger. Now again, if you have 195 miles per hour, few things are not going to get hurt by that. But there are instances where some of these building techniques, even for a simple house like this, have held up to tropical storms and even Hurricane 1 class storms at 80. So another thing that we also realized is before we would always buy a thinner gauge of this ceiling, these metal sheets on the top. We also realized that you buy a little bit thicker, and you buy better nails or thicker nails, that also makes a big difference. Sometimes people don't buy those because they don't have the money. But if we can make it easier for people to be able to get those things, then they have a stronger house. So the way that we rebuild houses, the way that we get the community to work together, and then look at better evacuation routes. And then as we rebuild schools, the government is also, and the communities are also looking at, let's say a school like this, building making sure that the school has high enough place to be able to take families in as well. So the school can be an evacuation center. So I'll stop there and see if I've given you some examples, I guess, in terms of the causes and responses and people's roles and responsibilities in an emergency.
So guys, thinking about the 3 key concepts, you might be sitting near somebody who's got a timeline like this. So there are some questions on there that could help you get some ideas of what other things you think you might like to know, you're interested in knowing, or what you think you might need to know. What else do you need to know, or what else are you interested in asking? Okay, remember this is an opportunity to ask somebody who was there in the aftermath and has first-hand experience. So talk to the person next to you about some of the things that you heard and that you noticed.